Hey guys, so we just got done talking about expense codes, activity codes, clients, vendors, and employees. Now in this video we're going to be covering what you probably all have been waiting for, which is fee schedules and also known as kind of rate cards and expense fee schedules, and why they're so important, and why the heck did I tell you guys to put a 1 inside of the bill rate of the employee. So let's talk about that. So first off, how does BillQuick determine a bill rate? So first off, we're not going to talk about cost rate here. We're going to strictly talk about bill rate first. How does BillQuick determine the bill rate to your customer per time entry? Now, basically what happens is the general format of logic is that BillQuick will ask at the time of entry, does this time entry, the project that's associated to this time entry, have a fee schedule tied to it? If it does, it will see if any of the rules on the fee schedule match what is being put into the time entry. If it does, it will then follow that rule and use that bill rate. Now, if it doesn't have a fee schedule tied to it, this project, it will check to see if there's a rule on the project to say pull the rates from the activity screen. Remember, as I told you before, no matter if you put the rates in the activity code screen or not, it won't matter unless you actually check that rule on the project. If it does have it, it will try to use that activity code rate. In any of these cases, whether it's a rule that matches on the fee schedule or you're pulling the rate from the activity, if the bill rate is at 0, it will continue on throughout the logic process, acting as if you don't have it. So for example, if you did have a fee schedule and you did have a rule that matched this time entry on your fee schedule, but the bill rate was at 0, it will completely skip that rule and go to the next rule, or it will skip the fee schedule and go to see if the rule is checked for activity codes, and the same thing goes there. If the rule is checked, but you have a 0 on the activity code, then it will go ahead and skip that, and the final place it will end up is the employee screen, and it will pull the bill rate from there. And you must have a bill rate in the employee screen. So why did I tell you to put $1? Well, think about it. You're supposed to control it via the fee schedule. If you screw up, don't assign a fee schedule to a project, or you screw up and leave it 0 in the rule, or you didn't put the correct rule in. If you see 32 hours for an employee at $32, it's a big red flag for you at the time of billing. And you're going to be like, hey, we need to fix that. And this is the reason why I told you at the very beginning to put $1 in the bill rate of the employee. Now, you're probably used to seeing something like this for your cost estimating for your projects or your bill, your contract amounts. So you can see here that I'm able to see, like, if I was analyzing one phase of the project or just a basic project, I'm probably going to sit here and I'm going to look through all of my employees, and I'm going to assign them to a type of person. They're an engineer 1, they're an engineer 2, there's a principal, they're an engineer 2, there's an engineer 1, and what are the rates of these people, of these type of people. Now there's really 4 types of rate billing. I mean, there's a couple other ones that are very abstract, but in general consensus, there's 4 types of how to determine a rate. 1, the person is a type of person, and no matter what that person does, they will bill out at a certain rate for a certain project. So for example, Johnny is an engineer, or in this case, Bob is an engineer, and he will always bill out, or engineer 1, and he will always bill out at a $85 bill rate, because that's what engineer 1's bill out at. So we're not actually assigning the rate to Bob, we're assigning the rate to the engineer, level 1, and simply stating Bob is a level 1 engineer. This is what we call bill rate by class. Now, on top of that, there might be a different way where you say it might be a little bit smaller of a company, and it doesn't matter what type of employee you are. If you do type of work of engineer level 1, you will bill out at $85 an hour. If you do type of work of engineer level 2, you will bill out at $120 an hour. Now, if you are this type of company, and this is how your company operates, it is very, very important how you set up your activity codes. And this also limits you on how you set up your activity codes. So it's very important, if you are this type of person, to definitely get in contact with us so we can go in a little bit further on how to solve that issue. And even if we try to explain how to solve that issue, we need to understand it a little bit even more in depth, because there's all the little different caveats that could potentially happen. Okay, number 3 is what they call a blended rate. For this particular project, it doesn't matter who the heck you are. You could be one of 4 employees. We're going to bill out at $140 an hour no matter what. Okay, it doesn't matter if the engineer level 1 or the principal works on the job, we're billing out at $140 an hour. This is called a blended rate, or also known as a flat rate. Okay, and the last one is simply, hey, you're Bob, so you bill out at $45 an hour. Or you're Sammy, so you bill out $22 an hour. Or you're Jim, and you bill out $33 an hour. This is just called arbitrary billing. And arbitrary billing is very rare. It does happen on occasion, but it's very rare because normally the customer wants to understand what the rate is by employee. And honestly, companies don't want to create a complete worksheet of every single one of their employees and tell them every single one of their bill rates. So normally this doesn't happen. But if that is the case, you would simply forego the service fee schedule, or you can use the service fee schedule, but you would list by employee. Okay, so this video is actually going to be a 2-part section because I'm not going to be able to fit it all in one. So we're going to cover kind of how we think about it, and then we're going to cover the actual process. Okay, so if we look here on this particular Excel spreadsheet, even I'm coming here, I have my type of employees or my classes of employees. I have the amount for each class, and then I have the actual employees and their classes here. Okay, and then of that I have the cost rate of each employee, not the bill rate, the cost rate, and I know the average cost rate is about $33.67. Now the class amount, which is, if I say Bob is an engineer level 1, that means Bob bills out 85. So I've done all this simple stuff here, and I can go back into my sheet 1, and I can say for this job, I know engineer level 1 should be a billing about 150 hours, engineer level 2 is about 250 hours, and the principal is about 60 hours. And then I can literally with just that information, I can get an estimated amount for each type of class, and I can get an estimated work value with an overwork buffer. We'll explain that later, about 5%. So I should have an estimated contract amount around $60,637.50. Okay, and I have an estimated cost based upon the average of each type of employee. So the average cost of an engineer, the average 1 and 2, and the average cost of a principal. I have an estimated cost about $16,435 based upon the information I put in. And so therefore I have an estimated profit of about $44,202, which is an estimated gross margin percentage of 73%, which is unheard of. That's amazing. If we ever got to something like that, that would be perfect, right? We're always shooting for that 33 number, but you know, if we get 73, we're just ecstatic. So next, cost amount and spent amount. Now, this is the summary, and this comes from the actual timesheet example. Now, this worksheet was actually created for a different type of program that you guys maybe even interviewed for or tested out with the BQE software suite, which is the ArchiOffice software. It doesn't give you the ability to derive numbers by class like BillQuick does, but it does give you the ability to put numbers in bill rate by class. So at least you can use this worksheet if you are using ArchiOffice, and you can actually use it for your driving numbers after the job is done. You can actually get these numbers out and plug them in here. Okay. Now, with that being said, if you don't even have a worksheet like this at all and you want something like this, and it'll be available on our website and you're feel free to use it completely at your own risk. Obviously, we're not here to, you know, tell you how to work your business in the sense of doing all your financials. You definitely want to make sure to double check the spreadsheet, but from the last time I checked it, it was working just fine. So you can see here that we can see how many hours the engineer worked, the spent amount of that engineer, which means the billable hours multiplied by the bill rate, the engineer level 2 and the principal, and then down here we can actually get the values of what we got going on. So if you look here, we can actually see, okay, principal was actual hours was 60, billable hours was 60, the cost rate average was $36, the cost amount was $2,160, the bill rate average was $250, and the charge amount was $15,000. So I can see right here a nice little spreadsheet by class and by employee within that class who made up that stuff. So we can also add another one in here, like, you know, what the, you know, profit margin was and all that. We didn't do that, but it's simple enough to be done if you know a little bit of Excel. So you can see this really helps out. But the biggest thing here is how we're designing the logic we're doing to create this. Now remember, 4 types: by class, by type of work, by blended rate, or arbitrary. Bob is Bob, and therefore $33 an hour. So I hope this kind of gives you an understanding of how you're thinking of creating these things, because that's really going to play into when we get into the fee schedules on how you actually design and create those rules for those fee schedules. For example, right here we're saying, I don't care who does the work. If you are an engineer level 1, I don't care what work you do, because you're an engineer level 1, you're $150 an hour. So here you can see that we're doing this by class. I don't care who you are, but if you, and I don't care what you do, but if you're an engineer level 1, you're billing out at $150 an hour. Okay. Now this worksheet doesn't go the other way, where it doesn't matter what you do, who you are, but if you do engineer level 1 work, it's $150 an hour. This worksheet is not designed like that, but that is also a way it can be done. So no matter who you are, if you do engineer level 1 work, or no matter what you do, if you're an engineer level 1. 2 different ways of looking at that piece of puzzle. Okay. So after this video, we're going to go into the next video, which is going to actually show you guys on how to actually create this inside of BillQuick and try to tackle that. Until next time, if you like this video, smash that like button. If you didn't like it, you know what to do. And as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. Until next time, talk to you later.